So a lot of the time when you create a website, you want to be able to react to certain things that happen in the browser. For example, click events. So a user might click on a button and you might want to fire some code when that happens. In my case, I want to fire some code that might do something like increase the value of age or change the value of one of these properties. So to do this kind of thing, to react to events in Vue is really simple. The way we do this is by first of all creating a button or any other kind of element. It doesn't have to be a button, and using a directive called v-on. So this is what's known as a directive, and there's many different directives in Vue that do different things. This one right here is to allow us to react to different types of events. Now the V is for Vue, and pretty much every directive starts with that, and then the name of the directive is on, meaning on click or on mouse move or something else. So how do we say what type of event that we want to react to? Well, we use a colon and then click to say we want to react to a click event. So we use the directive v-on, then a colon, then the type of event. Now, like I say, there are more types of events and we'll see those later on, but for now, let's set this equal to something. And this right here inside double quotes is where we can write some JavaScript code. And that JavaScript code will run whenever a user clicks on this button. So what do I want to do when a user clicks on this button? Well, I want to increase the age property right here that we have by 1. So when I click on this, I want some code to run to take this value and up it by 1. Now I can increase that age from the template itself right here because we have access to the age property, or from inside the components. I'm going to show you how to do both, but to begin with, let's do it from inside the template. So I can just take the age property and I don't have to wrap it in curly braces because this is not being output. It's not actually part of the template that gets rendered to the DOM. Inside here, we're just using JavaScript, and the property right here is age. So we don't need curly braces inside directives when we use the different properties, only when we're outputting them to the browser. So we take that and we can just say plus plus to add 1 to this value. That's how we add 1 to a value in JavaScript, right? So now when I click this, hopefully the age will go up, and it does. Awesome. So I'm going to duplicate this and do one for decreasing the age as well. So decrease age, and then instead of plus plus, it's going to be minus minus. So again, we say v-on and then colon, the type of event, which is a click event, and then the code we want to run, which is decreasing the age by 1. Save it, and this goes up and this goes down. Awesome. They work. So I said that we can react to click events on other types of elements. It doesn't have to be a button. So I could attach one to a div, and I could say right here, v-on, and then click is equal to something. Now, before I go on, I want to show you a shortcut for v-on right here. Because we react to events so much, the Vue team made a shortcut for it, and that is to replace all of this, v-on and the colon, with an @ symbol, and that means the same thing. It means react to some kind of event, and this event can be whatever event you want. It can be a click event or some other kind of event that we will see later on. And again, we can write some JavaScript code in here. So I could say the title is now equal to a different string, so I'm going to use single quotes here, and I'll just say something else and try to spell this correctly and then save it. So if I now refresh, I don't see that. That's because we have nothing inside the div. So we'll say right here, change book title and save it. And if we click on this now, you can see it changes it to something else. Now, I said before that we could also update these properties right here inside the component. So let's do that instead. I'm going to delete this and I'm going to go back to the components, and I'm going to create a component method. Now, the way I do that is by adding on another property inside this component. Now, it can be above the data function or below it. I'm going to do it below, and it's going to be a methods property. And then any functions or methods that we want to run for this component, we place inside here. So I want to create a method called change title, like so. And again, I'm using the function shorthand, and inside here, what do I want to do? Well, I want to update the value of this. So whenever this function is called, I want to update this. But first of all, how do we actually call this function? Because that's what we want to do when we click on this button right here, or this div. Well, like we have access to the different data properties, we also have access to the different methods from the template. So I could say right here, change title, and now whenever we click on this, it's going to invoke this function right here. Now inside here, I want to update the title, but first of all, let's just console.log you clicked me so we can see this in action. So if I now open up the console and click on this, you can see you clicked me. So this is working. Whenever we now click on this div, because we reference this function and we don't need to invoke it, we just reference it right there. Whenever we click on that, it then invokes the function. So now let's update the title value. Now I can't just say title is equal to something else, and we'll change it to words of radiance. And if I try this out, you'll see it just doesn't work. So we don't get access to title just on its own. We have to say this.title. Now this references the component itself, and then Vue proxies all of these different properties up onto the component instance. So they're accessible from the component. So I can say this.title or this.author or this.age inside our methods to access those, and then I can update them as well. So now this will work. And if I save it and try this over here, change the book title, we can see now it updates to Word of Radiance. Awesome. Now, one more thing, you can also pass in two functions when we call them arguments. So say I want to pass in a book title here and then update the value of the title to whatever value I pass into the function. Right? So let me do that. Let me do single quotes and say the book title is going to be Oathbringer. So I'm passing a string into this function. Now, if I save it and come over here, I can accept that into the function right here. And I can say, instead of this.title is equal to Words of Radiance, instead, this.title is equal to title, which is the thing I take in. And that can be called whatever you want. You can call it ABC if you want and update it to ABC. But to me, it makes sense to call it title. Save it. And let's see if this works. Change the book title. And this time it changes to Oathbringer, which is the argument we passed in to the function. Now, it might be that later we let a user type in the new book name, and then we can pass that new book name in as an argument instead of hard coding it right here. But that's in the future when we learn about forms and input fields. But just know that that possibility is there. But next up, we're going to look at conditional rendering based on our data and certain conditions.